Can I get into some of this? Who do we have in the lines? What am I taking here?
Marcus
Phillips.
right now on
we'll
two, because otherwise we're going to get back up.
Okay, Marcus is Marques Phillips, who one of the charges that was made by Ernie Sinita just a little while ago is we were somewhat ambushed here this morning with bomb flying.
We thought it was all about the raise issue,
and it got into a lot of stuff. Marcus, good morning. And,
hey, how you doing, Bill?
And I have to be in full disclosure. I'm friends with Marques Phillips. I know him well. Marcus has worked for me when I had Utica Daily News. Marcus was the rock behind Utica Daily News. He's incredibly capable, and I think you are underutilized. Whatever position you currently have, you are currently underutilized, in my opinion. So, with that said, what's going? You know the charge that he's making. That strings were pulled. Your father's voting with the mayor now, and all of this. What do you say to Ernie Sinita?
Okay, I wasn't gonna call in. I didn't. Because when I thought it was just about me, I didn't care. I didn't want the people I worked for to be upset. But I get upset when people talk about my father.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Because this is what happened. I was working for the city, actually. I was working for Codes. And my father wasn't elected. When my father got elected to office, I looked for other jobs because as soon as he got elected, one of the board members, whose name I won't say, said, "Oh, well, your son worked for the city, so how will you ever oppose the mayor?" Even though I know my father and he has integrity, I didn't want to put any pressure on him to have to make any votes or do anybody any favors or look like he was doing any favors.
Right.
So I applied for a bunch of jobs. Now, the one that I took happens to be on the county legislature, which the city doesn't have anything over. It's not like the county works for the mayor. A lot of times they're at odds.
Absolutely, yes.
So the job I took is in line with my skills. It's in line with my experience. It's in line with my degree. I'm grateful to have it. But I left the job that I had been at for 2 years just to avoid anything looking improper with my father.
And just to be clear, you're saying you got that job before your father was on the council, really, or even running for office?
No, I was on Codes before my father was running for office.
Right, you worked for the city before your father was a councilman.
Before my father was a councilman.
His most recent bid as a councilman. Because
So
I know
correct.
Right.
So after your father is elected, and I saw you on Inauguration Day, as a matter of fact.
Right.
After your father was elected, then what happened?
Well, he got elected, and I'm like, you know what? I like this job. I like the hours. I'm going to stick it out. But before he was even inaugurated or sworn in, one of the councilmen brought up that I work for the city, and how is he not conflicted?
Got it.
Even though there's several people, both currently and in the past, who have family members that work for the city.
Sure. It's kind of hard in a city this size to not have something like that happen.
Not, and you know what? To be honest with you, a lot of times that's how you get started in political life, right? Like, you know somebody that works for the city, you know what they go through, and you're like, well, this isn't fair, the way the city's treating their workers, or there's a better way they could do it. So a lot of people that run for office have family members in the city, and through their perspective, see things that they want to change in the city.
Yeah.
But regardless of that, I left that job so my father wouldn't have to answer any questions about me. I don't want my father to have to answer any questions about me because, he's done enough for me. He doesn't need to take any heat for it.
And listen, I know your dad, and he's a good man, and your parents did a great job bringing up a guy like yourself, and that's why I had a difficulty with, and I wanted you to come on because I know you, and you're a guy that worked not only for Utica Daily News, but Marcus has worked for the Observer-Dispatch, and he's a journalism major, an amazing writer, and there's a little thing that we learn in the world called ethics, and I don't know of anybody that holds themselves to a higher standard than you do. And just the fact that you would walk away from a job to protect your father from the possibility of people thinking that there's some impropriety says an awful lot about you, Marques Phillips.
Well, I appreciate it, Bill. And one thing that I'll say, because it's kind of gotten out of hand with my father and stuff, it's like when people are listening, and I trust people are smart. That's why, usually I don't say anything. just remember that the people that say things, they don't know what they're talking about. So what evidence or truth do they bring to the table? You know, we've gotten a city now where, you know, everybody wants to go on radio shows and blog and post, and that's all fine. You know, I was in media, I was in journalism.
Yeah.
My dad's in public life. I understand it. But just the thing people have to pay attention to is, you know, what are they saying and what are their motives? What if they lost? What do they do? And just verify their claims, because it's ridiculous. It's the opposite of what he's saying. He's saying, I got the job because of my father. I actually
lost the job
because I wanted to avoid my father.
Yeah. All right, Marcus, I'm sorry you had to go through this today, and I'm sorry your dad had to go through this today.
No, that's okay. And I tell people, the one more thing I want to say is that I did work for Bill. We worked hard for a long time in Utica Daily News. I respect him, and I'm proud of the show that you're putting on now, Bill. And, look, I think you're doing a good job, and I think this is an example of good media. Somebody says something about somebody, you give them a call. So I'm really proud of you, and I think you're doing a great job over there.
Well, I have to tell you, I learned an awful lot from two people, Nancy Ford and Marques Phillips, during those days of Utica Daily News. And I feel like I owe you some sort of a college degree tuition, because
Keeler University?
No, I think I learned from Marcus and Nancy during those days more than I ever would have learned had I gone to college for journalism. So,
well, I learned for you because, you know what, Bill, you always said, you know, let it go. I mean, we always had standards. We always talked about stuff, but we were able to do some things at Utica Daily News that local news usually doesn't get to do because they're restrained.
Yeah.
And we kind of pushed and did as much as we could. And, you know, you've given me that freedom. I've met so many people. I've done so many things, and I'm so proud of Utica Daily News. And like I said, I'm proud of you. So,
Marcus, you're a good man. Thank you so much for taking the time to call in.
All right, guys.
All right, Marques Phillips. He is as I said, I can guarantee you, I don't know what he's doing right now completely, but he is totally overqualified for what he's doing. Got a break. Martin Babnick up next. He'll throw a few bombs of his own when we come right back at WIBX.